I will keep an eye on the Facebook just to see if anybody has questions or anything like that. But otherwise, like we can, you can have a coaching call. So may I ask, are you doing the Uncanceled project, or there
Yes.
are actually a couple of other, so you are doing Uncanceled?
Yep.
Wonderful. So for those that don't know, Uncanceled is a race series. So this is the first week of the race. You're able to pick anywhere from 5K to 26.2. You set a race day. This week we're focused on gratitude. You decide the distance you're going to go, and you think about kind of that gratitude intention. You do your thing, and there's a Facebook group that you can post in. It's very cool. There are 4 weeks, each week with a different theme, but therein lies the problem, right? So let me ask you, Angie, how far are you planning on doing the same distance for all 4 weeks, or are you going to do different distances for each week?
I think I'm going to switch it up. Like this week, I'm going to do a 5K tomorrow morning. And then next week, I'll either do another 5K or I'm going to try to do a 10K. And then I'm just going to kind of alternate between the two depending on what's going on that week.
Okay, cool. And I see Erin and Angela and Sarah are here as well. So ladies, I can see the comments as well now. So if you guys are doing any virtual races, Angie and I are talking about the Uncanceled project. But there are a couple more. Like I've seen a lot of these races popping up. There's one for breweries in North Carolina that's really cool. There's another just stay home virtual marathon. Cool stuff going on. The issue can be, Angie, if you do 5K, 10K, and then you're racing at any distance, right? The entire month of April, you got to be careful in terms of recovery, especially as more opportunities present themselves in May. Now, I know you because you're a local runner and we've run together in Run Club for a while. May I ask, or do you feel comfortable sharing, were you planning on doing like the Firecracker 4-miler or any of the, this area is pretty popular for ultras over the summer. Do you have anything else scheduled is what I'm trying to ask?
The only thing I've got for sure scheduled right now is Connor and I are still, they haven't canceled yet, still supposed to do the 5K at the zoo on June 6th. And then there's a group out in Washington State that is doing something called the Social Distance Run or something like that. And it's another virtual one. I signed up to do that, and it's like an 8-week build up, and I'm hoping to be able to try to walk and run, split it up, and do a half marathon at the end of that.
Okay, so you've got 4 races in April. Let's say the June one is going to happen, right? Because even if you can't have all those people out there, they're going to turn it into a virtual, and they should. It's a fundraiser for the zoo, so they absolutely should. So then you've got another one in June, and then you've got another half marathon. That social distance is one. Actually, I have family in Washington State as well, so that's the other one that I was aware of. You've got a lot of racing this summer. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware, first and foremost, that with this kind of thing, you're going to be running, not racing. And Angie, you're the only one here on Zoom. We've got a few people watching here on the live. So, I mean, I'm totally putting you on the spot. Like,
I'm okay with that.
Okay, good. Yeah. I mean, look, we've had this relationship before when I was coaching previously in 2013. So, you know how weird I can get. Do you know the difference between running and racing?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind, again, putting you on the spot, do you mind like verbalizing for people to you what that means? Like, what does running mean versus racing?
Running, you're doing it to get the distance, and you don't worry about pace, you don't worry about specific times or anything like that, versus a race, you have certain time goals in mind that you're trying to meet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want people to hear you loud and clear say that, because running is about just crossing the line, be it in a race, format. So you can be in a race with other people this time next year. You can be in a race and still just run that race. If we're talking about virtual, but then racing would be like okay, I have programmed for this. I have periodized my training, meaning I want to peak on race day. I'm racing against myself, against the clock. It's a very different mindset and it's very different for your body. So what I would encourage you to do is, we just talked about, you've got 4 in April. We know you're kind of you're getting yourself there, right? You've got that step up in April. Then you've got a June opportunity with your son. So I'm assuming that one won't be a race effort. Is that correct?
Well, in theory, but he did smoke me at the 1 mile fun run last year. So we'll see, I guess.
He's fast. And then you've got the half marathon. As we get into the summer in July, right?
Right.
So my recommendation for you would be to pick 2 of these that you feel like, again, you've got to be there mentally, because we're all processing this at different paces. And when I say this, I mean the health crisis. I saw a really great, blurb today about this that said, for some people, like, this is a storm. We're getting through a rainstorm. For other people, it is an utter hurricane and shutters are coming off the house. And if that's you, then running is more of a coping. If it's just a rainstorm for you though, and you feel like you need some normalcy and you feel like, well, I want to get some semblance of a race season, my recommendation would be for the Uncanceled Project to make like that 3rd or 4th week be your race effort. So pick 1 out of 4. And I know there are people that are going to watch replay. Kelly, Megan, they're both doing the Uncanceled. You guys make one of them a race effort, and then you're running the others. And then maybe you do the one that's out in Washington. Is your sister going to be your accountability buddy on that?
Yes. Yeah, she's actually doing it too.
Cool. I think that's a good thing. And if you didn't have an accountability buddy, I was going to recommend that you get one. That way, again, if mentally you feel like you're there, you could say, okay, this is my goal for the race. I'm going to race it. Will you hold me accountable? Will you cheer me on for this? Stating that intention out loud is really, really helpful. And especially when it's a trusted accountability partner, look, sometimes you're going to get it and they're going to celebrate with you. But even if you don't, if it's someone that you trust and love, it's still a good thing. And it's still a good thing to kind of verbalize it and say it. But I would pick 2 of those efforts that are going to be your race effort.
Okay.
May I ask, Angie, so I know like you and I are like the same age. We're similar.
Within just a few weeks of each other, actually.
We're knocking on 40. We're
Oh,
over
yeah.
30. Yeah, we're over 30 years old. We're over 35. It's recovery is a little bit different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And
Yep.
so I want to talk to you a little bit about that as well. So what you see here is actually, where did it go? Just a second. There we go. So what you see here are actually some recovery tips. And so this is what I just want to talk everybody through. And again, I will take a look at some of these comments. That way, if anybody has any questions or anything like that. So the reason why I asked your age is because this is going to be a lot more important to those of us that are over 30. If we're over 30,
Yep.
Yeah, it just is. It's a lot more important. And actually, I think all the people watching are as well. So this is going to be important. I say if you're a regular runner, and I define regular runner as you have been running for longer than 60 days. And Angie, I know that you've been running to some degree. It doesn't matter if you've been training or not. You've got some history with running. You've got like years.
Yeah.
Of running. But if you've been regularly running 2-3 times a week for the last 60 days, I would consider you a regular runner. If you still feel sore after 24 hours, that is your body telling you, you got to do something. And I bring this up again because you've got all of these race efforts. We know you're going to run some of them, but there's still race efforts that are, in close succession. So my recommendation for you is, number 1, reduce the volume. Take a look at how many miles you're running throughout the week, and consider reducing that volume. I usually recommend people start by a 5% reduction and then a 10% reduction if that doesn't work. We're looking for minimum effective dose here. That's going to be different for everybody, but you don't want to put junk miles in just for the sake of putting junk miles in.
Right.
I know for a lot of people, there are those challenges that are really popular. Our running club, Angie, has done them. 2,000 or 1,000 miles in a year, or some people are going for like 2020. I know a couple people in this group that are going for 2020 in the year. And that is awesome and that is fine by you. But ladies, I need you to hear me. If you have been running regularly and you're still sore after 24 hours and you didn't do like a crazy hard effort or really hilly terrain, it's a normal run for you and you're still sore after 24 hours, you've got to reduce that volume. Sometimes we have to think about like a strategic quit. Am I better served stopping now? Or is my ego going to say, I'm just going to do it no matter what it means for my overall health? You got to decide, right? So that's reducing volume. Also, you could consider reducing your pace. I know runners don't want to hear this. I know we like our pace charts and our watches and we like to know what our times are. But if you're still sore after 24 hours as a regular runner, you've got to focus on recovery. And these are the two things, and then maybe even combining the two. Like this is your low hanging fruit that you want to look at. So reducing volume, reducing pace, or even doing both. I hope that makes sense. Angie, you're on
Yep.
it. Do you have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay, cool. And I don't see any questions over here, so I want to keep going. This was the one that a lot of people had questions about, just chatter in the group. So I definitely want to go over this. This is on eating, you guys. It's on eating. So here's the thing about eating. Actually, Angie, may I ask, do you eat before you run? Are you a morning or afternoon runner?
It depends on what time of day. Like if I get up and run first thing in the morning, most of the time, no, I usually won't. But if it's in the evening, usually I'm starving by like 5 o'clock. So I'll at least eat a little something before I go for a run, just so that, I don't run out of steam halfway through it.
For sure. So the number 2 is going to, what you'll see here in this yellow box. So that number 1 is going to be for morning runners only. So for you, Angie, this is when you have a morning run, you can consider running fasted. It's not going to hurt your recovery if you fasted, assuming you ate correctly the day before. For an average, and typically with, any type of health research, they're considering the average woman to weigh about $150. So you've got about 600 calories left in the tank. So that means if you're run for a 150-pound woman, I mean, it would take you, you guys can do some quick math. If you're running over.
No, I can't. I did numbers all day already today. I can't do any math at all right now.
Y'all, Angie is an accountant. She's like, please don't make me work with numbers. If you're running over 4 miles, as a 150-pound woman, I'm just using averages. Like for me, guys, I'm 115 and I've been running for 15 years, meaning my body has adapted and I don't burn as many calories as my Apple Watch says. I would have to run about 10 miles to burn 600 calories. So anything less than 10 miles, I don't need it. I'm not even dipping into my reserves for anything less than 10 miles. Now, some people are like, you're crazy. I need it. It's behaviorally. I feel better when I run. I perform better when I run, when I've eaten something. That's awesome. And then also for afternoon or evening runners, you want to choose something quick burning carbohydrate and try to take it easy on the protein. I know a lot of people will get off work and they're like, oh, I can do a protein bar. It's really quick. But see, that protein is going to have trouble digesting. And now from a recovery perspective, because that's what we're talking about tonight, from a recovery, you're probably going to have a miserable run because you're trying to digest all that protein. And then from a recovery perspective, it does not put you in a position to win. So if you're running in the evenings, try to have quick burning carbohydrate and a relatively empty-ish tank, like 0 to 10, maybe somewhere around like a 4 for when you actually go out for your run. Quick burning carbohydrate, it's a banana and it comes in its own wrapper. So like choose that instead of a protein bar. If you feel like, ooh, I need a little oomph, I need a little something, banana and any type of nut butter, almond butter, peanut butter, whatever. Any type of fruit is going to be quick burning carbohydrate. Any type of, like you guys know these, like breads, breads are quick burning carbohydrates.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say one of my go-tos is always a half a peanut butter sandwich. And like a lot of times I'll go off hunger cues. So like if I wake up in the morning and I'm starving, then I might eat a half peanut butter sandwich, let that settle for a few minutes before I go out. And a lot of times in the evenings, that would be what I would eat right before, before I go out, is half a peanut butter sandwich.
Which is perfect. Like that is because that peanut butter, right? It's got some fat that's going to keep you satiated or feeling full. And then the bread has carbohydrate. This is not the time for like Killer Mike's bread with all the seeds and like the fancy stuff. You want something that's going to digest easily. But again, from a recovery perspective, if your digestion is giving you some issues, your body is also going to have some trouble recovering. And so the main takeaway is like know your patterns, and you don't necessarily need something unless you feel like, oh, well, I know myself, I'm going to perform better. It's highly, highly individual here, but I hope this gives people like some sort of brainstorming there. Something that I didn't put in, and I'm thinking about those things we can control, right? Like from a recovery perspective, we can control our food. We can control the volume of miles we're running. We can control our pace, right? I also want to mention sleep. I didn't put it on this list, and you know what? I'm going to put it on there before I put this document in the group. Sleep, you guys. Depending on who you are in this season of life, in the health crisis, you either don't have a good excuse. You need to be getting the right amount of sleep because that's where recovery happens, both physically and cognitively. Or you're in a storm. It's a hurricane. The shutters are blowing off the house. And if that's you, I would ask you to consider, the recommendation for adults is 7 to 9 hours. If you know good and well you're not in that, don't let extra miles get in the way of getting that sleep, because then you're definitely going to have issues with recovery. And it doesn't matter how much volume or pace you reduce, you're still going to be sore after 24 hours. Angie, I'll play when is the most tired you can ever like think of being? You're a mom. So
well, yeah, honestly, it's like this time frame that I'm in right now, because I'm divorced. I've got joint custody of the kids. I have them every other week, and the weeks when I have them, I do it all by myself. I don't have anybody, nobody comes and helps. I'm running back and forth. I'm working 40 hours a week. It's tax season, which is just stressful anyway. And so honestly, it's like usually Saturdays are the day of the week that I'm the most tired, because when I get the kids back on Friday, I usually end up with one or both of them in bed with me Friday night, and then nobody sleeps well. And then Saturday, I am just wiped out, and it's like a coffee all day kind of day.
Mm-hmm. So I'll ask you to think about that as you're looking at your schedule. The point being, we can't perform physically when we're tired.
Right.
We're tired when we haven't had the amount of sleep. And also, like, we can't think. We can't make the decisions we need to make.
Yep.
And this is a very stressful time for everyone. So if we're coming to each day of uncertainty, also just cognitively not all the way there, it's a recipe for disaster. I'm going to, when we're done with this live, and I definitely want you to check this out, Angie, Evernote has a really great template for energy levels and fatigue, because sometimes it's hard. We can't put that measurable, like, how am I feeling?
Right.
It's got 3 little spots. This is for like your energy levels, how alert you are, that kind of thing. I would recommend, and it's you check it, you put a number in there, however you want to measure it. It's a template that you can use. Try that for like a week. And then maybe try to do what we call splitting the difference with sleep. So splitting the difference is, instead of going to bed early 30 minutes, you would go to bed 15 minutes earlier and wake up 15 minutes later. It's going to be easier for some than others. If you split the difference and tack a little bit of extra time on, then you do that template again for the week, and you measure against yourself, and you say, oh, did the extra sleep help me feel more alert, feel less fatigued, that kind of thing. I guarantee you're having that same transfer will happen in performance and recovery as well. You didn't know this was going to be like a, 21 questions. Let's go through this last one, just from a recovery perspective, and then I want to grab any questions that you have. This is, again, from a recovery perspective. You should be doing at least 2 minutes. 2 minutes is minimum effective dose for mobility. My favorite is getting a lacrosse ball or a tennis ball or anything you can roll underneath your foot. I've seen people do it with wine bottles. It works. 60 seconds on one side, 60 seconds on the other. The ball is really great because it gives you just a lot of, you can really take that ball over the surface of your foot, your forefoot, and then down to your heel, a little bit better than a wine bottle. But the point is that you're rolling it out, 60 seconds on one side, 60 seconds on the other. Then you take off for your run. Then when you're done, minimum effective dose for stretching, your static stretching, the lengthen and hold like we talked about last week in office hours, just 2 minutes after. 60 seconds on one side, 60 seconds on the other. If you have a question about like what area is sore, one, the Googles, two, like ask another runner like me your favorite stretch, or, ask a friend. There, just to, if you only have a limited amount of time, you got to do this 4 minutes. 4 minutes
Right.
for people is less than a half mile. You will get a better return on your time investment doing this 4 minutes, 2 minutes before and 2 minutes after, than you will running that extra half mile. You just will. So extra credit here is foam rolling, self-massage, reducing those inflammatory foods. You guys know what I'm talking about, refined sugar. And real talk, I mean, I had Nutella, like several, like I'm not the food police, nor am I someone that you want to see what I'm eating every day, because I'm eating my feelings just as much as the next person. But I also know that if I'm having trouble recovering, I've got to reduce those inflammatory type foods. And for me personally, almonds, I've done an allergy test. Almonds, wheat to a degree, everybody is going to give everybody some inflammation. Some people it's more, some people it's less. Funny enough, I went like full on paleo for the longest time. Oh, it's all good, Stacy. I went full on paleo for the longest time, y'all. I avoided wheat, and I did all this baking with almond meal and almond this and almond that. Almond, for me, when I got allergy tested, causes more inflammation for me than wheat does. And I was wondering, like, man, why does everybody's doing so well with paleo and it's just not really working for me? And it's because I was replacing a kind of inflammatory food with something that was really inflammatory for me. So most people know these things. And if you don't, there are foods that to a degree, it's for everybody. Sugar is the low-hanging fruit and probably the easiest one for everybody. See, Stacey's saying it kills her stomach too. It's so if you know what foods don't react well with you, it can help your recovery to reduce them. I put supplements here. You guys know that my headline sponsor for the podcast is Red H Nutrition. These are names of Red H Nutrition products. These are not the only products that will help you with recovery if you're a regular runner and you're sore for more than 24 hours. Go Juice has the branched chain amino acids in it. And what I like about this is that it's not a protein drink with BCAAs in it, because you don't necessarily need a recovery protein drink. That's going to be more dependent on your lifestyle. How quickly are you going to be able to get to a meal? For some people, like they work out, they need something after, and it's like 4 hours until they can eat. Well, in that case, yeah, take your BCAA with a protein, man, for sure. And it will help you. It will help you get more intense work in that given week. Super Flexi is something that I recommend for people. If you're closer to 40 than you are 30, Super Flexi is probably the one. If I could only take one Red H thing, it would be Super Flexi. But again, Red H is not the only company out there that sells what this is. And it's the turmeric, it's glucosamine, it's a mix of these things that you can get on Amazon or whatever. I will say about supplements, you get what you pay for. I've learned a lot about this industry in the last year. So while these aren't the only ones, definitely do your due diligence on supplement companies if you want to do this extra credit. The low-hanging fruit though, you guys, it's all free. It's 2 minutes before, 2 minutes after. It's the sleep. It's reducing the inflammatory foods. It's playing with your pace and volume. Again, the big fat red flag is I'm a regular runner, as defined as I've been running for about, 60 days, more than 60 days, at least 2-3 times a week, and I'm still sore after 24 hours of a regular effort. So that is that. Do you have any other questions on recovery, Angie? I'm looking over here. Stacy had, okay, good. So Stacy does the Go Juice, and that's got the branched chain amino acids. What I like about that one, and I'm not going to make these an infomercial, you guys. What I like about that one is it's just the BCAAs and some stuff that helps your electrolytes level and electrolyte levels and keeps you high. It's just BCAAs. That's why I like it. It's not all this other stuff that you might not need or that you might be getting elsewhere. It's just the BCAAs. So if like soreness is your thing, that it's a good supplement for it. I'm not somebody that thinks you need a supplement for everything, but it's a good one for recovery specifically. Stacey's like, no, it's good. It's good. So Angie, it sounds like for you personally, you just need to balance your virtual race schedule with good sleep and knowing when to run and when to race.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I've got like 2 minutes, and if you guys will let me, I want to preview this here. This is something I'm going to announce next week over on Instagram, like on my Run Lift Mom Facebook group. I'll tell you guys, I love this group. For those that don't know, I've been doing Active now for, I don't know, it'll be 2 years in July. And this is the first time I've done a closed group on Facebook, which if you're in direct sales, that is really backward. But I love this, you guys, because it's an intimate space and I haven't had this before, and it allows me to exercise my run coaching muscle as well. And Angie's smirking there a little bit because she was one of my clients when all I did was run coaching back in 2014, I think it was. So anyway.
Yeah, that would be about right. Yep.
Right? So it gets me back to it. And there's some people in this group that are also Zaya reps. And you guys, I love connecting with you and I love hanging with you, but you don't need activewear. So this is really nice because just I feel like I'm serving and it's a more intimate space. I don't know 12,000 people on Instagram. I don't know 40,000 people on TikTok. They're fun platforms, but this is where I'm going to like lay the value heavy stuff. So this is what I'm doing for the month of April. And I'll make sure everybody has a copy of this. It's a really neat way to win a flexible training schedule. So just the schedule. The schedule is a $30 value. If you want a consult in addition to that, we can talk. Or you can earn a half price Zaya item, like the Everywhere pants that just restocked. If you're running in leggings right now and you don't like tights, you want some Everywhere pants. Leggings are too hot in the summer. Nonetheless, I'm gonna leave that to the side. Here's what you do. So we are gonna be celebrating the Boston Marathon. The Boston Marathon was postponed this year until September. It's typically run in April. And you guys, April is Boston Marathon month. And I decided let's run it anyway. But what I'm not gonna do is have you go run a 26.2 mile virtual race, nor am I even gonna have you run if that's not your jam. I want you to pick 4 of the things on this list. Why 4? Because there are 4 hills of Newton. So these are these late miles in the Boston Marathon. Starts at about 17.5 miles and lasts until about mile 22. It's when you're already tired and exhausted. Does that sound like life right now? And then you have to put the hammer down a little bit 4 different times. So some of the things that you can do: complete a virtual race. Angie, you've got 4 of them coming up this month. Pretty good. You complete a virtual race. Listen to a podcast episode. I'm focusing pretty specifically on coronavirus for the next couple weeks on the podcast. Next week is going to be work from home. The week after that is going to be how we can care for our elderly family members. The week after that is going to be about homeschooling success. I'm not a clinician. I'm not like, I'm staying in my lane here, you guys, but it is going to be coronavirus specific to what our life is looking like right now. So listen to any podcast episode. Uplift another runner. You guys, This is reposting and complimenting somebody. It's writing them a note. It's sending, I don't know what it is. Uplift another runner. If you set a running or lifting record, some people don't have access to a treadmill and they can't be outside because they have littles. Maybe you do a push-up challenge for yourself. Do the baseline right now. How many push-ups can you do in 60 seconds, 1 minute? You can ask your Echo-enabled device to do the timer for you. Retest it at the end of the month. If you got more, that's a personal record. And so that would count here. Do a selfie in something blue or yellow. Tag Run Lift Mom so I can see your beautiful face. That counts. Zaya purchase counts as well. Attend to office hours on Facebook. So everybody right here already has a square. Also 26.2 total walk and run miles. My mom is in this group, and Mom, when you're watching the replay, I want to challenge you to try to get this one or complete a fitness challenge. I've got a couple of people that are also, because I do this street parking in here. And so April, there's a challenge in April. If you're doing that April challenge, it counts. So this is going to be just a fun way, first of all, to earn something cool. Everybody wins. But then also I'm going to be doing a health and wellness expo with my ZyActive team. We've got some really talented fitness instructors in the group. We've got some really just, you guys, the talent on the team is awesome. It's awesome. They're all in their own groups doing little things. We're going to come together. So for example, you'll get to see another Susie who has been in fitness for maybe 3 decades, but she looks like it's been more than one. And she's going to do a 10-minute workout. So it's going to be like attending a expo, but you're going to go to everybody's different booth over the course of 3 days. And then there's going to be a post-race party in an event connected to this group on the day of the Boston Marathon. I hope you've completed the Newton Hills. I hope you will. The party is just going to be a celebration of the Boston Marathon, the history, the camaraderie. It's going to be fun. You guys know I like to make things fun, and it's going to be like inside of like a 45 minute block here on Facebook. So that is what's going on in April. I will continue to do these office hours for as long as like you guys want them. This group has doubled in size since last week, which is pretty cool. But I like the intimate feeling. And a lot of people are watching, and I hope we'll watch replay. So you guys let me know what you're after. I want it to be very much an open concept, but this is what I'm focused on in April, just as a way to uplift the running community. Angela loves it. Well, I hope you participate, Angela. So yeah, it's fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, and you guys this will be on YouTube if you want to watch it 2x. And take note, like Angie was like, yeah, I jumped on and got a personal coaching session. I'll do Zoom.
Hey, I'm all about free.
Yeah. I'll do Zoom if you guys like Zoom. That's always a lot of fun too, but I want to make it, I want to meet you where you are in terms of how you want to get this kind of information. So short of coming to your back door and knocking on it and saying, let's go for a run, this is kind of what I'm left with. So I'm going to wrap it up tonight, ladies. But this is the Boston Marathon, the Hills of Newton Challenge. Look for the messaging about that in April. This group is going to get the document, though. That way you can go ahead and start tracking. I'm a nerd, and I laminated mine so I can kind of X things off. You don't need to do that. But you guys can go ahead and get a head start. And then I will see you next week at 8 o'clock for office hours.
Bye, Susie.
Bye, Angie. Right. And then I will. All right, I'll see you later.